Hello and welcome back to Sarah's Spare Corner. My name is Sarah. I am the host of Sarah's Spare Corner. Sarah's Spare Corner encompasses gaming as well as arts, crafts, and various different forms of creativity. Additionally, I like sharing theories, concepts, and ideas as I am a philosophy major, and when I'm not bored, I travel places and I might post about it. Today we are reviewing footage from several projects that I've done over the years that have either been left unfinished. Actually, that's exactly what it is. Art projects that were left unfinished. So this is the first one of many. This is my crystal art one. Originally, its purpose was supposed to be so that I could make a poster for Etsy that I could sell. It was a poster of like the 8 top most popular crystals, and then I could sell them I could make a copy, of this poster and sell it on Etsy. I never finished it. So we're just gonna see what I did. The first section of this video basically is just this. And I believe I used what was it? So I used a projector. This projector I no longer have because it decided that it no longer wanted to work because I didn't have the app. And the app is like one of those sketchy things, and I'm like, no, thanks. So me using my calculator app on my phone so that I could measure out the exact distance that I'd want each square to be for these 8 different pieces. So I measured out the paper and then calculated how much of a distance between one crystal could be to the other. So that's what this is. And then me outlining these pieces so that I could go back in with watercolor. Now, I'm going to be honest, all of these were kind of trash, except for one, which was the very last one. I had actually kind of forgotten how to do watercolor, for that matter. And usually when I do these kind of art projects, I have something going in the background. So could be like a movie, could be something I'm listening to. Whatever it is I'm looking at, that's clearly a movie. Because I'm doing a lot of pausing watching that. Honestly, if I probably stopped pausing, I probably would have gotten this done. Anyway, that's a different problem. Also, rest in peace to my water cup there. It broke. Rest in peace. Anyway, the thing is with this projector is it also, because it's connected to my phone, it has to be always on, which can really, just drain the battery. I also decided what I wanted to do was write out each one of these pieces in calligraphy. So what I did, which is really just a cheater's way of getting a fancy font, is just going to Google and typing in free font and then using their sampler and then that, making that large or, kind of copying, pasting based on visual. That's kind of how I do this kind of stuff. Is it cheating? Maybe. Do I do it still? Yes. I think all I did here was I just kind of traced some of those things out and then just did the rest by hand. So yes, I traced out the form of the different rocks. I think each one was done by each time though. So like as I finished one, then I bring up the projector, draw the next one. I think. I'm pretty sure that's how I do it. But all the writing was all done. Or, no, maybe it wasn't. Okay, it was done, but then it looks like I erased it. Probably because I was like, oh, well, really what I don't want. That's weird. That shirt actually fits in this video. Again, I was much thinner there. So I'm like looking at this. I'm like, huh. Anyway, yeah, so I think what ended up happening is I did trace out the font, but I think I ended up erasing it because I was just looking at the art piece and there's no writing on the other section. So I think it's very possible I might have just gotten rid of that. Now this piece here, this is a nothing piece. This is me just trying to remember how to use watercolor so I don't just go into the piece that I'm actually working on and not know what I'm doing. So that's what this was, is me just testing out, do I actually remember how to watercolor? And the answer was kinda, yeah. There wasn't like any real rhyme or reason to this. I think I was trying to paint a mermaid, and then I'm like, this is absolute trash. Ugh. So I kind of just like stopped doing this. And I was like, this isn't what I was trying to do anyway. So then, yeah, it was me just testing out. Also, it was like, not only do I want to test out the watercolor, I also just want to test out my capabilities. Because the truth of the matter is, do I even remember how to paint? That's a good question. Do I actually remember, you know, like the brushes and how they connect with the watercolor? But also, I think the last thought was more about, and I'm drawing a blank here, but it was, that's right, the paper. I wanted to see how well the watercolor kind of traced on the paper. Now, this is my drawer of art paints. And thankfully, I did eventually get dividers so that they're actually organized in the drawer. But all right, so this one here, this is just regular quartz. And I hate it. I don't like it. I don't think it looks good. Yes, I use my reference photo, but that's not it. No, it don't look like quartz. I'm not very proud of it. And also, okay. I don't know, dude. I hate it. But whatever. It don't matter because that was years ago. I'm always yawning when I'm doing voiceovers, dude. Anyway. So, yeah, not a huge fan of this. And maybe one day I'll try again. But don't really care to be honest. And of course, we gotta spend, a good 10 minutes just texting. Really productive. Alright, so now we're going in for the amethyst. Each rock piece is different. In, like, design, in photograph. I tried to find ones that were as similar as possible, but the truth of the matter is I didn't do a very good job. So, quartz is a little bit more rocky. Sorry, the quartz is like a fine cut gem. The amethyst is more like a geo they ripped out of the ground. So, it's also just inconsistent with the way that each crystal art ends up coming out. Also, my staple tooth while I paint is always listening to Zelda music. If I'm not watching one of my random shows, we're listening to Zelda music. Unless it's something on theme, then maybe we'd be listening to something else. But that's a topic for a different video. No, instead, it's mostly always Zelda. So right now, we're working on rose quartz. Now, rose quartz has a really nice pink color to it. Honestly, it kind of looks like rock salt. Himalayan rock salt, I should say. And I would say in terms of, I don't know, maybe form, it's probably more similar to quartz. Did I really just paint that and just give up? Now, this one I think is Citronon, I think. I really didn't like this one. This one and quartz are the ones that I hate the most. Okay, so I do go back in. Oh yeah, and I think I also determined it would probably... What I really wanted to do originally was actually do backgrounds for each one of these rocks, so they had their own color to go with. So there's that. And I think we're about to watch The Crown. We're watching The Crown. That's not what I was expecting. I was expecting to be watching something else, but we'll come up with that later. Anyone remember watching The Crown? What a throwback. Anyway, so we are working on the last one, which is honestly, I think, the best one. I don't remember what this one is. I actually have no idea. But I did Google the top 8 crystals, and this was one of them. So I'm sure someone in the comments will be able to remind me what it is, but I don't remember, dude. But this one, though, I think is the best one. The way I just chose to paint it, I don't know what it was, but it just made sense to me. I think at the beginning, maybe not so much, but the more I add layers and stuff, then I really saw some texture and color. Again, I have no idea what I did to make it look like this. Maybe it was just the amount of layering I used. Maybe the amount of paint I used was a lot more than the other ones. The other ones I just hate, dude. I don't like them. Oh, now we're watching Masaba. Masaba. It's just 2 words. Masaba, Masaba. Which is actually, I think, the name of the person who is the lead to this show. Real person. And such a cute show. So much fun. I don't know if they're doing a season 2 or not. It would be nice if they do. Actually, no. We already did a season 2. I mean a season 3. Unless it's out now and I just didn't know. Because I haven't watched this show in years and I don't have Netflix anymore. So who knows? Maybe they'd be on season 7 by now. Oh well. We are going to get close-ups of these pieces very shortly. We're just going to have to wait for it. But anyway, this piece, though, you can see how much it sticks out compared to the other one. So maybe the other one's issues were more that they just didn't have as much layering color as they should. So maybe that's why it didn't turn out as well as this one. But I don't know, dude. It also seems like I'm very distracted, so the majority of this video is probably me just watching Masaba.
So it's a different day, which you don't know this, but it is. I'm doing this voiceover. Anyway, I'd like to point out something here that tends to be something I find every time with art. And it's kind of something that I just have to remind myself frequently. When I don't like a piece of art, it simply just needs more layering. Layering of either darks or lights in the shade of black to white. And I think maybe the reason why this one turned out the way it did is I actually layered it with darker colors and lighter colors. The other ones I did not. And I think it was because I was thinking if I did that, then I'd miss the pieces themselves, the crystals, and not really bring out their colors. But I think it's truly the reason why this particular one turned out and the other ones did not. I'm not a huge fan of like the backing around the stone, like the geo outside part, but the inside part I think came out the best. And I think it's just because I did that layering between lights and darks in the particular crystal. But you know what? I don't care enough to fix it, do anything about it. You know, this was really just a throwaway piece. It really was just so that I could sell it on Etsy. Which, like, it's not gonna happen. Morticia's very curious. You know, when I had that chair, because I had armrests, she always took it as a place to perch. It was really cute. Especially when she knew she couldn't sit on my lap because I had paint or something on my lap. Then she took the shoulder to perch. But every now and then her leg will fall down. Which I think is what happened there. Oh boy. I guess I do come back in and try to add extra layers to the other stones. But I don't think it rectified it in any way. I don't think it made them unique pieces. Honestly, the majority of this video is me just... is mostly me just watching this show. Girl, just paint! Like... Oh, I guess I do come in with darker colors on this one. I think maybe I did realize that. Is that, oh, if I bring in darker colors, it'll actually stand out. I think the problem is that when it came to finishing this piece, is that maybe I just didn't layer with any lighter colors afterwards. There is always a point while in my voiceover that I yawn. Every single time, without fail. Anyway, so we're actually getting close to the finish of this art piece. And now we're going to skip to now in the future of what I end up doing with it. So this was footage was taken yesterday, or depending on this voiceover, today, depending on what part of the video you're watching. But technically if you're watching this, then you know, whatever. I have decided what I'm going to do. Because there's lots of art pieces where I'll never finish. Just because I don't care. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to rip these pieces up into single pieces. And then I have a lot of bits and ends over the years of doodles I've made and art pieces that maybe I really liked at the time, but like, you know, it was me just testing out art. I'm going to make a sketchbook, not a sketchbook, a scrapbook. And I'm going to put all of these art pieces that I don't know what to do with in said scrapbook. These geos are also going to go in there. I think it's nice to be able to keep these pieces, even though I never did anything with them, because I want you to know the footage that we just watched, I think, was 4 years ago. I mean, that was before I gained like 60 pounds. That was before I even lived in that house for 2 years. I think it was like the very beginning of me living there. That was before I finished my degree. That was before... I don't even know. Like, that was, what, 4 years ago? So that was 2022. So everything you can think of 2022 since, that was when this footage was made. So as a result, and a honoring of my younger self, an honoring of these pieces that I never finished, because I know I'm never going to finish them, instead what we're going to do, I'm going to put them in a scrapbook. You know what? Looking up close, they're not awful. They just needed more layers. That's really all it is. And maybe one day I'll come back and I'll add more layers to them. But it's not going to be anytime soon, that's for sure. Here's our rose quartz. That one definitely needed a lot more love. I also just, like, didn't know what to do with them, being honest. Like, sometimes I'm like, am I doing this right? I mean, that one, that's just regular quartz. I didn't do that right at all. This one's the best one. Is this Magnetite? Hemalite? Hemalite, is that what it's called? Alright, so now we are moving on to another piece. This piece originally was so that I could hang it up in my bedroom because I had I had a plant hanging from the ceiling. It was my Pilea glauca. Pilea glauca. I'm trying to remember what family that's part of. It's the same one as the Peperomia tucia. Whatever family that is. So, I wanted the painting itself, like the actual color, to reflect a 1920s Art Deco color hue, which you will see it was not the right color. I tried mixing in the color, but you know, when I add in the teal, I'd be like, that's too green. Then I add in the blue, I'd be like, that's too blue. Eventually, I just kind of settled on this color, I think. And I think I just kind of enjoyed that. But again, this is not the point of the actual paint. So, like, this isn't the actual point of the art piece, I should say. So, this particular piece... Oh, is this a separate day? I feel like this is a separate day. That's weird. But why did I... Oh, I guess I just let it dry. That's why. Oh, you know what it is? When it comes to art pieces and I'm painting the sides, you have to make sure it fully dries. And even though this is acrylic, so it's going to dry fast, I wanted to make sure it dried actually properly. So I started off with making sure that I sectioned off my lines equally all the way across, and then I wanted to do them on the opposite side. Is that it looks like I'm using a charcoal pencil. I think the reason why I did that is because in theory they're like easier to erase, but I actually never erased those lines. They were still hidden under what we were about to see. So again, the part of this piece was so that I could stop watching a show, girl. Oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for a reference photo. And I guess I'm watching a show while doing a reference photo. Okay, so I think what I originally planned to do was actually draw out these pieces. And then I was like, never mind, I'm not doing that. So we're going to sit through me cutting through all of these pieces of aluminum while watching television. And apparently just not doing it. Anyway. But I really wanted to be careful with these aluminum pieces. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to... Girl, stop! Anyway. What I wanted to do with these aluminum pieces is make sure that I was as delicate as possible to not crinkle them, because I really didn't want to keep those lines that aluminum tends to do. And then I think I used, yes, I did use Elmer's glue. So I used this really cheap dollar store Elmer's glue to attach the strips of the aluminum foil, because I was really having issues with my plant not getting simply enough light. And it was partly, as you can see in the walls here, which maybe you can't really see because the poster's on the wall, but it is a wood paneled wall. Interesting enough, I've been seeing a lot of people online saying that that is very chic and let's bring it back. And all I'm thinking is you did not live in a home for 3 years with a wood paneling wall. Are you sure? Because there's a reason why wood paneling wall died out. And it's only found in old homes now. Anyway, so because of this wood paneling wall, it was really hard to get light to reach my Pilea glauca. So I came up with a solution. Excuse me. Yes, I did buy it a light, and that did help for most of it, actually, because I never finished this art piece as well. Are you wondering if this entire video is unfinished art pieces? The answer is no. There's 3 in total. This is the second one. This one was unfinished. The third was a finished one. So the point of this was just to make sure that the plant could actually get light. However, because I never finished this, I just kind of stuck with the light. I think at this point, this is when I just got, oh my gosh, I miss nails. I missed them so much. I need to get them back. I need to stop spending my money on stupid things, though. Anyway, I gotta stop getting distracted by silly things. I'm tired, dudes. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyways, the point of this, put in the aluminum foil pieces in a horizontal line on perpendicular lines on each side. So we do one side, and what we're gonna do is the other side as well in just a short second. And I noticed that when I was putting these on, I'm like, oh, those lines are not as straight as I was hoping for. And then one of the things I wanted to make sure is make sure that they're actually sticking down, because I noticed the biggest problem is that they were already coming off. Could be the acrylic and the glue not meshing together. Could be the glue wasn't strong enough. Could be that it needed to be fully on top of it itself, but I was concerned that if I would do that, I would remove the effectiveness of the aluminum foil. So that's kind of, oh, I think we're watching Last Christmas. I knew that movie had something to do with this painting. Or like one of these art pieces. So I knew it. Anyway, going back to the art piece. Again, I keep getting distracted. So it was basically 70% done. I needed to let it sit, and then what ended up happening is I went to go visit my family for Christmas, and then I think I just fell into a black hole of despair and depression, because I think I still had like 2 years in this house, so I could have finished it at any point, but I didn't. And I guess it was also because I was in school, you know. But anyway, I wanted to make sure, and I don't know if I already said this. I'm so sorry. Maybe I should plan out my voiceovers better. Okay, I wanted to make sure that the aluminum pieces were as flat as possible, because if they have crinkles in them, then apparently this doesn't work. So I wanted to make sure that it was flat as possible. But I had concerns that if I layered the aluminum on the bottom and the top with Elmer's glue, then it would also erase its effectiveness. But then what ended up happening, because I didn't touch it, it made the aluminum pieces just fall off. Now maybe it could be also because I didn't put enough glue on certain pieces. But I never finished it, so I never really found out what the problem was. But yeah, my plan was to kind of put all these pieces down and then layer the corners. Let's see how far we are, because I am about to interject with some thoughts. Not quite, though. We still have a couple of minutes. Yes. And as you can see here, my lines are getting worse. I know I drew them out prior and I had like a ballpoint figure of where they're supposed to go. It didn't get finished. Okay, so now we're at a different day. I think it was because I was at that point. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Oh yeah, and then this is me going backing in. Why do I always do that? I've done that so many times in these voiceovers. I need to slow down, dude. I think if I slowed down, I wouldn't be tripping on so many words. At this point, this video is just a Morticia viewpoint, which I hope you enjoy. So I think what I originally planned to do, yeah, so like basically this painting or art piece, I don't know, was like 70% done. I think I'm watching someone watching someone either play Planet Zoo. Yeah, that looks like Planet Zoo. Okay. And then once these pieces were done, which they mostly are, so I'm gluing in all the edges. And I told myself I'd come back to it. And then I would cut out these squares and put them at the bottom of each line. And then it would be ready. It would be finished. And then I could just put it beside my plant and hopefully reflect the light much better in that corner of my house that was really dark. Which, to be fair, this house was dark everywhere. At least where I lived. I think the upstairs was quite bright. Anyway, but this, again, never finished. So here, we're going to talk about it now. So a while ago, I started this art project, and I never finished it. There are many reasons to that. Originally, this piece was supposed to go in my last house, in a wall where I had some plants hanging, and there was getting no light towards those plants. So that was the point of this, and it was supposed to be an Art Deco style, because originally I wanted my my bedroom, where the plant was, to be more Art Deco. So I was actually going to cut out pieces of aluminum and put them in each corner. So the color wasn't right originally. I wanted more of a darker teal. This came out to be more of like an ultraviolet blue, or an aquamarine blue, pardon me. So the color wasn't right. But also the means to how I attached the aluminum wasn't right either. I think I used Mod Podge, or it was either Elmer's glue. Glued down the piece and then rubbed my finger over those pieces so that I could try to make the aluminum as straight as possible. But I never finished the piece. I think I was in the middle of doing it when I was watching Masaba around Christmas time. In fact, I think I might have even watched Last Christmas while I was making this piece. And I never finished it because I think I ended up going to visit my family and then I, put it off. And how I lived in that house, everything was put off. So there's that. But I don't need this anymore. I'm never going to finish it. And I don't need to shine a light on any particular plant because my plants have more light in this house than I know what to do with it. Except you. You died. Because I didn't love you enough. I am sorry. That was unfortunate too, because I really wanted the Pilea glauca. My last Pilea glauca died for this exact reason. It didn't have any light. So I moved the Pilea glauca that I got for New Year's in here, and it's dead now, so, whatever. I think I just need to actually put it in a room where it gets light and stop pretending that I'm giving it enough light that way. But I digress. So here's what we're gonna do. We are not gonna finish this. We are going to rip it up, destroy this piece. We are going to throw all these pieces in a trash can. 1 second. I use my New York fries bag. Now the reason why I'm doing this, instead of, actually finishing this project, there are pieces that I will finish projects of. I will admit that. This is not one of them. First of all, I never did this right in the first place. Second of all, it was only for my plants that I did this concept. I don't actually need this. If anything, I could use the canvas I suppose, but I also have like 5 other canvases up there. But you know what this is actually? Clutter in my mind from unfinished projects. And I am in a place in my life where I no longer want to pretend that I will get certain things done that I won't. Because the truth of the matter is, I never loved this art piece. In fact, I wouldn't even know if you could argue this is an art piece. If anything, this is like a grade school craft piece. But there is no reason to clutter your mind and your heart with things that maybe you feel regret from. I don't want to feel regret from this. In fact, it's not even necessary to. It's just a piece of paint with aluminum foil on it. Something that I actually never did properly in the first place. Could I finish this? Sure. But do I care to finish this? No. In fact, I've had other ideas for other art pieces, but I'm too busy thinking about how I'm going to finish these art pieces first. And the truth of the matter is, I'm never going to finish this. That's just how it is. There are plenty of things where I think, and I've noticed this even with people who renovate things, they think to themselves, oh, I should have finished tiling the kitchen. I should have finished painting the cupboards, whatever it is. And because 1 week got away from them, or maybe the color didn't turn out the way they wanted to, or because, you know, simply life happens, they end up putting off that project for many, many years. And you see this with a lot of older people, is sometimes they just don't get stuff done. So then it sits for years, when they could have just started over, thrown the whole thing out. I know that sounds, you know, easy, because this didn't cost me anything, and, you know, painting cupboards can be pricey. But I do think that a lot of us adults will put off plenty of things in our lives because we just didn't get it right. Because it didn't turn out the way we were hoping the first time. Which obviously is a conversation about perfectionism. One that we shouldn't have right now. I just think if we're going to live our lives in a way that we feel good, you know, we're not going to be sitting in a chair in our 80s on our porch being like, took me 3 years to finish the cupboards in my kitchen. It could be very possible that maybe not that we do that, but also very possible that we do. But once you do finish those things, paint that cupboard, finish that art piece, you'll wonder yourself, why did it take me 3 years to do that? Kind of like folding laundry. Why did it take me a full week to do that? Why did whatever? And there's going to be 1,000 reasons why. Well, because in the middle of doing so, I had to go pick up the kids. Just, you know, it was time to go pick them up. And then, you know, one of them was feeling sick, so I had to take care of them. And then I was exhausted, so I ended up just sitting in front of the television when I finally got them to bed. You know, whatever it is. Not feeling good about it, because then what ends up happening is this ends up sitting. And you don't touch it. And then it just kind of sits there somewhere in your garage. In my case, in my art room on the floor. And the years go by and you're like, why didn't I just finish it? And it's because we're not perfect. We're humans. We make mistakes. Things just happen sometimes. We don't always have to do everything right. But I think there is a very point in our lives where we have an adult conversation with ourselves and say, does this actually matter to me? Do I actually care whether or not this project got finished? Because if it does matter, then maybe we should make plans to sort that out. Recently I had sold quite a few things in my house, and after selling those things, which to be fair, I didn't sell most of it. Most of it ended up just going to Value Village because my garage sale went. But I don't miss any of those items. Yeah, I mean, I think I would, because half of them were cosplay, but realistically, not really. And now those junks, those pieces of things that I thought I cared about, whatever, is now in somebody else's house and making them happy. And you know what else I noticed? Sure, there's a little less of things in my house, but I'm not lack for things. I still have plenty. This doesn't need to be in my mind anymore. It can be something new. I can paint this white, or keep it this color, or paint something on top of it. Who knows? Maybe I'll use the texture of the glue on this canvas to make something new. But I don't need it in my mind anymore. What I need is something new. Not because I need new things to make me feel better, but because I need a fresh start. And even though this looks, you know, not fully fresh start because there's still some aluminum foil on here, I can easily decide now what I want to do with this. without feeling controlled by my past self that never finished this. And you know what? I don't blame her either. She was my past self and she did what she could. No, instead now, my older self, myself now, can decide what I want to do with this. And I can be free to do so. So this painting is now a new option to start over. Okay, let's talk for a second. It's been about a year since I've painted last. I think if I just be a little bit honest with myself for like 30 seconds here, this might be good. If you want to skip over this part, here's the time stamp. Yeah. In the past year since I've painted last, how do I describe it? I think the best way of just describing it is that my mind was clouded. Clouded with heavy thoughts, clouded with my own anxieties, clouded with a lot of self-doubt, and clouded with questions of what am I doing with my life? And then, of course, when it comes to painting, because painting relaxes me the most, probably out of almost anything other than meditation. Also, sometimes meditation doesn't work, but painting does. That I think I just stayed away from it. It's kind of interesting, when we're not doing well, we stay away from things that are actually better for us to not stay away from. Anyway, so regardless of everything that's happened in the past year, I would like to try to paint again. But the problem is I almost have kind of forgotten what it's like to paint. So we're going to do this painting today. This one is I don't give two craps about. This was a one-day painting session with my first day of art class of my last year of uni. Really didn't put much love into it. Maybe I can put love into it now, who knows. But if this goes nowhere, so what, is really just my vibe with this. I think we can just skip over the parts where I explain to you what I'm doing, and now we're gonna do a voiceover. Cue. Welcome back to another voiceover. This is the last artwork of this video, and it is the only one I actually finished. So, you're gonna chill with me as I relearn how to paint. I will say this, the entire process, I think the way I started kind of went as such. The very beginning was more based on remembering how certain brushes hold paint, remembering how oil moves on the canvas, and remembering how canvas actually catches the oil paint. And so the very beginning was me kind of just testing that out. And then I had an idea and I was like, oh, maybe I'll paint it this way. To which I changed my mind. And then I tried to paint the clouds a certain way based on how I previously painted them. That didn't work out. I tried a different mode. That didn't work out. I think what I did is I actually Googled how Bob Ross painted clouds, and I could not get my head around it. I attempted it, and just didn't work, so we redo that. I think... yeah, so what I did is I think I went in kind of like this with the brush that I was using. Yeah, and I switch around the brush. So here I'm using now a different brush because I wanted to see how it goes. And so yeah, it was like me testing out several different types of brushes, different forms of markings with the 7 brushes, and then figuring out what I liked. So the first day was kind of just filling in the negative space, and then I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll do a layer of, this more, this yellow escapes me right now, can't remember what it's called, and then we'll go on with everything else. But I kind of did that and then hated it. So I actually, while I was painting this, was posting on my Instagram page, and I quoted Angelo Jolie in Tomb Raider. I just woke up today and hated everything, and that was kind of how we'll end up being shortly. I also realized, I'm like, wait a minute, if I want to paint the sky a different color, I need to erase everything I just did. So I kind of just left it upside down to dry, at least those sections, and then colored it in the way I actually wanted it to look. And I think I was able to remember how I wanted it to look because several years ago I attempted painting. Is that correct? Yes. Attempted painting the Parthenon in Athens, and Honestly, I need to paint over it because yikes. But, I did figure out how to paint a sky in that painting, oddly enough. And so that I was able to figure out the right color code to painting the sky. Which I don't think that's necessarily something to brag about. Painting the sky is probably one of the easiest things to do. But you know what? I am not an artist. In fact, I don't even think I'm a good artist. But I do like art. And I do like trying different art things. But I wouldn't call myself an artist because artists make very abstract things and I tend to not paint very abstract like. It's just the way the industry is and I'm very much not what the industry is and so I wouldn't consider myself an artist. In fact, anytime I talk about my art, I usually refer it as my shitty art. Because I just like painting. I'm not selling it anywhere. I don't actually think anyone would ever buy my art. So anyway, so this was kind of how I figured out. This was me trying to figure out how to paint a cloud again. And I ended up being like, is this looking like a dragon? I was like, that's not right. So yes, I think I painted this and then I wiped it all off. That's right. I was like, yeah, that's not how it's supposed to look. So we go back in. We tried cover it all up again with more of the proper blue. And I think I use, yes, a paintbrush to do so. Because even though you could technically use the palette knife, and I do like using a palette knife depending on what the piece is. I tend to use a palette knife if I want certain areas to be thick. And I wasn't really concerned about this painting being thick. I just wanted it to... I mean, again, this was me just reminding myself how to paint again. Like this particular brush, I think, was kind of used in reference to something that Bob Ross used to do. And that's kind of how my thought pattern came. So I tried using the fan brush for that. And then, okay, never mind. I guess I did end up using the fan brush, but I didn't paint it the way that necessarily Bob Ross used the fan brush. That's the thing. And then I went back in with red. What is that red? I think it's crimson rose, something like that. Because I really like adding more of those darker colors on the bottom of the cloud. But again, I tried blending it and that instantly ruined what I was doing. So I was like, no, don't do that. And clearly I wiped it all off and started all over because that's how I be sometimes. Picky. Anyway, so now we're back again with the blending again of the sky, because how many times can you paint the sky? Apparently several times. There we go. So now we go back in with the palette knife, which is how I feel comfortable painting the clouds, because I really didn't like that fan brush method. I need to figure out how to use an actual fan brush, not gonna lie. And then this is kind of how I prefer painting my clouds, is more... Oh, I guess I did go back in with the fan brush. But I think I erased this, because that looks way too cloudy compared to like what I have right now, I think. We're gonna see in a second. I think I do come to that realization as well. I'm pretty sure. Unless I'm like, I forgot what I did. It's very possible I forgot what I did. Alright, let's see. We're adding all our colors in. I really need to paint my palette, like clean my palette more often. I do not do that. Oh yeah, because so now we're painting the bottom to make sure that we actually do that properly. So I do remember, yeah, so what I figured out to do, because I was like, oh, I did this wrong in the first place. You're supposed to paint the background, then you paint everything else. So I think what I came up with was I should probably paint the tree itself first. But then I was like, okay, well, here's the thing though, is some of the leaves are behind the trunk. So you probably should paint them at the exact same time. So that's kind of how I ended up going about this, is painting the tree and the leaves at the exact same time. And I wanted to make sure that the leaves were, for lack of a better term or phrase, is just look real. Just look like it actually looks like leaves, you know? And also, that is the biggest regret of this painting right there. It's the closest to what we see. I think what I was trying to do was give perspective as if there's a branch closer to us, and that's the one that's kind of not hanging down. It's just based on the angle you're looking at it, it looks like it's hanging down. Yeah, that was the biggest regret of this painting. And honestly, it ruined it for me. Yeah. But whatever. I really buckled down on that one, so whatever. So yes, I think this is where I came up with the idea of first painting the background yellow. So, okay, that's the closest to the sun. So we're going to paint those leaves yellow. Now we're going to go in with a darker green. And those are the ones that are hiding within the branches themselves. It's the ones that we're technically, because we're technically on this angle standing under the tree looking up. So that was kind of my plan for this. I don't know if I executed it well. And I really tried to, well, I was trying to figure out, I was like, how do I want to paint these leaves? Do I want them detailed? Do I want them to look more like rain? Do I want them to be just blobs? And I think I just kind of went with dabs, I think is what I did. Dabs everywhere and kind of just brushed off the paint in certain areas as well, depending on what it was I was working on. In certain areas, just fill in the area with the dark green. I think I do add layers though. So I add like different colors within the layers of these, like first the dark green and then whatever. But I would say that overall it kind of turned out better than I was expecting it to, because again, I hadn't painted in like over a year, so I kind of wanted to remind myself how it actually felt to paint and how my problem solving, because here's the thing is, like with painting, it is a very big problem solving task. It's asking you, oh, I did this here, do I want that, or can I just work with that? You know, Bob Ross always said, you know, there are no mistakes, right? There's only happy accidents. And so I do kind of understand what he says. Like when you're painting, it's a big problem solving activity. It's, oh, that's not what I was planning on doing. Okay, what will I do now? And I think I go in here to kind of more define the branches, I think is what I'm doing here. Yes, and I also add the leaves a little bit on that one branch that's just very strange. Oh yeah, so here we are adding the various different colors to the trunk. And I'm going in with a lighter color, which I guess you can't really see here, or a darker color. Maybe it is a darker color, to kind of bring out more of those tree branches. And then depending on where the tree is hitting the light, to try to bring out those light pieces a little bit more, so that you can tell that the sun is coming through on some level. So that was kind of the plan, was to kind of work around that way. And I think we're actually close to the end. So now I'll just end this video with letting the music kind of take over, but stick to the end to see the final product. Okay, so I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't know if I want to add more, if I want to add less. And you know what? I think I'm okay with this. I don't think I need to add more or fix anything or do anything else. Like, I'm actually really enjoying the way this turned out, especially since this was just me trying to fix my own painting skill that I forgot. But I feel good about this, so you know what? I'm just gonna sign it and leave it, because I really don't think there's anything else that I need to add on this guy. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, my name is Sarah. I'm the host of Sarah's Spare Corner. Sarah's Spare Corner encompasses gaming, as well as arts, crafts, and various different forms of creativity. Additionally, I like sharing theories, concepts, and ideas, as I am a philosophy major. And when I'm out where I might travel places, I might post about it. let me know what you think about this painting. I feel pretty good about it. Yeah. So, hope to see you in the next video. Bye now.